What the fuck?
Welcome everyone to the Softlock Podcast. This is your first episode for September. Welcome to September, Jonathan.
That was really
Of course.
scary. It's like 2 months until Halloween, man. Tone it down.
Right? It's only 1 month.
It's only,
Okay, yeah, it's at the end of
full
October.
month,
You gotta go. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Jake Eisman, and joining me is the Pepperoni Meister himself, Jonathan. John, I feel like I haven't talked to you in like 9 years. Our last episode was our mid-year recap, and now we're like 3 months until the end of the year, 4 months till the end of the year, so that was a little bit crazy.
damn.
I haven't even talked to you like personally, like I haven't texted you much, so this is gonna be a wild one because this is literally like the first time we've talked in forever. How are you today?
I am a fucking fraud. I'm a fraudster. Okay. I was at work the other day, and me and a coworker were just doing some maintenance on some speaker boxes, and we were talking about another coworker in the room was talking about video games, and he brought up, he was like, yeah, I remember I had an emulator on my laptop, and I played Fire Emblem Tactics, I think was the name. And I was like, oh, like Final Fantasy Tactics? And he goes, no, it was Fire Emblem Tactics or something. And I had to like, I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to reveal my hands.
We've all been there.
I'm not going to reveal my hands and be like, well, actually, it's because I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, and I actually know that there's no, you probably played this one, and I was not going to make it a big deal. And I just like sat there. And I was just like, I'm going to be an adult today, and I'm not going to nerd out all over my coworkers. And, but I am a fraudster because I have let him believe that the game was called Fire Emblem Tactics. What will that mean for him? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I think what's likely to happen is if he even remembers that conversation, he might look, I assume it's he, might look up Fire Emblem Tactics and find out that they're all tactics.
That's true. They are all tactics. No, he got that right. He described the game perfectly, right? It was me playing dumb because I just didn't want to nerd out in front of everyone while we were working. And I was just like, this might come back to bite me on the ass because I don't know how long it'll be, like 4 months from now or something. Like, what if we're talking again? And I'm like, yeah, I love the Fire Emblem games. Like, I know, I have all of them and stuff like that. And then he thinks back to that conversation where I was just like, acted confused, like I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah,
and then he'll think that I'm a fucking liar.
Well, let's do some rational thought experiments right now. Let's figure out which Fire Emblem he played.
That way, played one of the Game Boy ones, for sure.
Okay, the Game Boy, like Game Boy, not Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, no, Game Boy Advance. There wasn't any on the Game Boy.
Okay, so Sacred Stones. There's Dragon. What is the Dragon one?
The Dragon one?
Isn't the one with like a dragon?
There's all three of them.
But isn't the one with dragon in the title?
No. There's the Binding Blade, which is the Japanese only one with Roy, and then
Roy.
there's just Fire Emblem.
The Blazing Blade.
Yeah, which is the Blazing Blade in Japan, but here it's just Fire Emblem, and that's with Ellie Wood and shit, and Lynn. And then it's Sacred Stones. There is a dragon on the logo for Sacred Stones.
Okay, that might be what I'm thinking of, because I did have that one.
Okay,
on my 3DS.
You're thinking of that one. And you see, that's why I'm a fraudster. It's because it's not that because I knew that the title wasn't Fire Emblem Tactics. It's that I know Fire Emblem to such a minute degree that me feigning ignorance is insane.
Oh, so you were like, oh yeah, I've heard of those. I never played them. You were one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was misinterpreting the issue here. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, because he was just talking. He was just like just idly bringing something up, and I felt in my bones that I cannot go in depth about this right now
That
for everyone's sake. So instead of just being like, I was just like, oh yeah, I've heard, yeah, okay.
that exact situation has happened to me a couple times now related to Smash Bros. 'Cause I feel like Smash and Mario Kart are like the great equalizer. Like you talk to someone, if the subject of video gaming comes up, you can probably find some common ground on Smash Bros or Mario Kart. And there's been a few times in my college career and in my adult life now where Smash Bros has come up. And where we're talking about, like, oh, what character do you play or whatever, and then the other person says something that's like, it's not real, but to them it is real.
Yeah.
And I just gotta hold it in. I can't bring myself to tell them.
Yeah, that's the problem of being like a gigantic loser,
Right.
and also living like a real adult. Somehow, is that your loser brain kicks in, and you have to fight over it for dominance. In
The other
these
day,
situations, to still
I was
be an
at
adult.
work, and my boss was telling me that one of her relatives went to the Pokemon World Championship in Hawaii. That was like just happened. It happens every year. To compete. I assume Scarlet and Violet. I don't really know what games they play.
Right.
And she asked me, it was like, hey, do you know Pokemon? And I literally was like, yeah, well, like when I was a kid, but I don't know much about it now. Meanwhile, I'm like, I want to meet this kid. And I could not do that. Same situation. So yeah, we're losers.
See, I think actually my cutoff is that if they're curious and they're asking me with like genuine curiosity about what I know and like things about the game, then I will lift the veil and be a gamer. But
Yeah.
if the conversation is not of a curious nature, I will play stupid.
Yeah.
You
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Because the worst thing I do in life is talk about shit and nerd out about shit that no one wants to hear about. And I only realize it when it's too late.
Yes, but it is a slippery slope though, because a couple weeks ago, me and my friend went out and got really drunk. And when we came home, we were just chatting about, movies and whatever we've been playing or whatever. And he made the mistake. He made the mistake of telling me that he's thinking about playing Nier Automata.
Oh.
And then I blacked out. And the next thing I remember is it must have been at least an hour later of him being like, man, I gotta go to bed. I don't want to talk about Nier anymore. And I felt so
I
bad.
need to get away from you. I did that once with Berserk. I joined a Discord once after a nice night of drinking. And I was about to go to bed, and I saw my friends were on Discord back home. This was in college, and I joined it. And I went, dude, Berserk? And I spoke about Berserk for 2 hours and cried. And then I went to bed. And they did not say like anything to me. All I remember is them going like, "That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool, man."
See, it's a slippery slope.
It is.
Once you get talking to someone, you gotta shut them up.
So yeah, if my coworker ever listens to this, I'm so fucking sorry. I lied to you. I know so much about Fire Emblem. I know exactly what you're talking about.
In fact, this might be a world record. I think this is the earliest you've ever brought up Fire Emblem in a Softlock podcast episode.
You know what? It's been a while. I haven't brought up Fire Emblem in a long time.
See, you said that on the last one when you brought up Fire Emblem.
I don't remember that. What?
Before that one, it was a while.
Okay. Well, I really hope that it's not making a comeback in my brain, because once I finished Engage, I was like, I never want to see Fire Emblem in my life again. That's another thing. It's like if he was like, yeah, I used to play like, I don't know, what's like a game that's cool. Like my
Madden.
coworkers, Madden. No, my coworkers brought up Monster Hunter. They were like, Jonathan, have you ever heard of Monster Hunter? I don't know if I told you this, but I was like eating lunches with my coworkers, some of my younger coworkers around like the same age as me, and they were like, have you heard of Monster Hunter? And I recoiled, and they were like, they told me afterwards that I looked like I was about to tell them that I fucking hate Monster Hunter. That like Monster Hunter burned down my house and killed my family
because it's like you heard a trigger in the wild.
It's that is the question that I've been waiting to hear my entire life. You know, like that is the question of the ages. That's like literally your friend going, I think I need to play Nier Automata. Except it was even more direct. Imagine if someone came up to you and was like, Jake, do you like Nier Automata?
I would
shit
explode.
Your pants. Yeah, but again, I was at work, and I was like, that reaction of utter disgust at first was like me being like, okay, do I do it? Do I just go, yeah, I heard it, I've heard of it, or do I go, I love Monster Hunter, and you know what? I did the latter because I revealed my hand too much with that, like, you know, reaction.
Dramatic recoil.
Yeah, dramatic recoil, getting punched in the jaw. And I had to just be like, Monster Hunter is like one of my favorite things. Right? But because it was Fire Emblem that my coworker mentioned a couple days ago, I was like, well, Fire Emblem is kind of cringe, so I'm not gonna start talking about Fire Emblem in front of everyone too. So it's so many cards to balance being a gamer. It's so hard being a gamer, man. I can't take it.
Last story I'll tell, and then I'll get to the rigmarole. But when I was 15, this is like this haunts me, this situation. So when I was 15, I took the school bus to high school, and there was like, it was like a segregated bus. I'm not even joking, and when I say that, I mean by age. So let's relax. But yeah, it was like, but however old you were, that's where you sat on the bus. So but it was reversed. You'd think that like the seniors would sit in the back, but no, they sat in the front. And then there's
the one who's gonna make fucking trouble.
Right. But as a sophomore, I was sitting in the middle of the bus, and every day on the way home from school, me and my friend, the same one that asked about Nier Automata, would play Monster Hunter 4 or Generations on the 3DS on the ride home. And we'd always do like a quick hunt that we knew we'd be able to get done by the time we got home. And I heard like an inkling in the front of the bus. I heard this kid who I always like kind of looked up to, but also kind of hated, because he was like cool, but also a nerd, but also rude. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be him, but I kind of wanted to be friends with him, but he was also kind of an asshole. So I don't know. It was a weird dynamic. Okay. But he was talking about how his brother wanted to get a Wii U for Christmas, and he was making fun of him for it, instead of getting like a PS4 or whatever was out at the time. And I remember me and my friend kind of like exchanged glances for like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Wii U's freaking awesome. And then a little bit later, they were talking about the 3DS, and he was explaining to his friends what Monster Hunter was while we're playing Monster Hunter in the middle of the bus. And then he literally like stood up and turned around and looked at us and said, you guys play a lot of games on the 3DS. Do you know about Monster Hunter? Oh. And we're in the middle of hunting like a cuckoo or something, and both of us at the same time were just like, no, never heard of it. Oh. Because we panicked. We were like, we felt seen in a way I did not want to be perceived at that time. And that haunts me, that I could have actually like had a conversation with this person, and instead I just completely burned that bridge.
You could have went to the cool kids table.
Monster Hunter could have made me a cool kid. Think about that. No, I couldn't have.
Yeah, but I also can't. I'm surprised you didn't just like turn your 3DSs around.
That happened another time where, you know, and I don't want to get into that one because that actually is a bad memory. We need to start the show. So we'll tell that story another time. But this, of course, is the Softlog Podcast. Every couple weeks, we come straight to your inbox. We come on YouTube. We come on podcast services to deliver gaming deep dives and reviews.
Stop saying what we're coming on.
We're coming on. We're coming on your RSS feed, so you might want to clean that out after.
Yeah, say something else.
You're also going to get tales from our lives as stupid little idiot gamers coming right on your feed. And this is episode 28 of the show, so we're getting up there. Thank you for all of those who have stuck around for our first season. I'm going to think about that. We should one day we should do like a second season, you know? Be cool kids. This is season 2.
Oh, that'd be cute. Maybe we change up the visuals or something.
Right? Yeah. Maybe we'll go green, Persona 6 style.
Dude, is that real?
I think.
I guess that's it's the only rational color to choose from, right?
I would have chosen purple. I think purple. Well, that's like the first one, I guess, right? They kind of has some purple stuff going on. Enough about that.
No one gives a shit about which one I wanted to. Get real. All right, yeah.
You can find us at SoftLockPod on everything: Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. On YouTube, we're youtube.com/@SoftLockPod. So find us there. We don't really have a plan because we took a little summer break. You know, I think both of us deserved it. We also been pretty busy. I started a new job. Between the episode where I said I started a new job and now I actually quit that job and started another one. So I've been pretty busy. Jonathan, you weren't even in the continental United States.
No.
So how was that? You were over in the UK for a little bit. How was your trip? Have you ever been over there before?
No, I've never been out of the country before. Now, honestly. So this was years in the making. Every year, my mom was like, "We're gonna take a family vacation," and then it never happens because the Kalila family, we're not good planners. So it would just slip by. We would just forget about it pretty much. Because we would hope that someone else would make the plan, and we just wouldn't. But then finally, someone made the plan, and I went, "Oh shit! I had to spend a lot of money on plane tickets now." But it came and it went, and it was a lot of fun.
Came right on.
Yeah, I came to England.
I have a couple of speed round questions for you about the UK.
Sure.
What was the best thing you ate?
The Indian food. We got some Indian food, and I had some curry. It was called like jungle chicken curry, and I was like, well, I guess I'm getting that, and I got it, and it was bomb. It was really, really good. It was amazing.
Did you get a Chinese? Do you know about that?
What?
In the UK, they have these restaurants that are like Chinese restaurants, like American Chinese restaurants, but they're British Chinese restaurants, and it's like not Chinese food. It's like French fries and chicken tenders, and they call it getting a Chinese.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like orange chicken, I think, is the closest thing that they might serve, and it's not like authentic like Szechuan restaurants or anything. These are like very, commercialized, but they call it getting a Chinese, and I always think that's funny.
Where did you hear this?
I don't know. I used to watch a lot of British TV, so maybe I saw it on there.
They're just fucking with the American viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the best thing you did?
We went to Stonehenge. And
Stonehenge.
That is full circle. That was an inside joke on my improv troupe. Not my improv troupe. An improv troupe that I was a part of in college. That was like a big inside joke. Just like Stonehenge. It was like pick a non-geographical location, and then the audience would yell out Stonehenge every time, without fail.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I definitely contributed to that negativity.
It's pretty funny, I gotta say. It's really funny because you always expect it. It's like Stonehenge. We're like, no, not Stonehenge. That's your one. Every time we ask for a prompt, you get one. When we asked for another prompt in the same category, and they still said Stonehenge, that's when we were like, shut the fuck up! Throw things in the audience. No, Stonehenge was always a funny joke, more or less. And then I finally went there, and I was like, damn, I'm here. And it's smaller than you would think, but there was something very magical about being in Stonehenge. We didn't even do anything. We didn't even...
Earthbound reference.
Yeah, we just looked at Stonehenge, and we just goofed off at Stonehenge.
Well, what is there to do, really?
There's nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is... Did they ever figure it out? Do we know why it's there?
No, I mean, there's theories. There's it was a burial ground. I think the leading theory is that it was a burial ground, essentially.
But isn't it still impossible for them to have set the rocks up in that way? Or did that get debunked?
They know where... I don't know if they know exactly how they put the rocks up, but they do know where the rocks came from. That's what I know they know for a fact, that they know exactly where the rocks came from. I'm not entirely sure about how they actually put the rocks up, but apparently it actually collapsed a while ago, within 100 years, I think. And
yeah, you can see the ones that fell over and stuff, right?
No, but they put it back up.
Okay.
Actually, they like fixed it, and also you can't get close to Stonehenge.
Yeah, because you could probably push it over.
Well, yeah, and people were vandalizing it, and
Yeah.
so they just ruined it. That's what I really would have liked to do. I would have liked to be in Stonehenge and like just like be in the middle of it and wander around, look at different angles. But also that makes me wonder. It's like you could really destroy. There's no like security. There's no like Stonehenge security or anything. Like you really could just. I was thinking, what if someone got a grenade and just threw a grenade right in the middle of Stonehenge?
Then it would blow up and you'd see the dark secrets held within.
You're right, I would. It's like
Release the demon.
Skyrim dragon burial.
Yeah.
The dragon comes out and he starts like shooting fucking ice at me.
All right, what was the coolest thing you saw that wasn't Stonehenge?
That wasn't Stonehenge? Fuck.
Like,
Dude,
did you
probably
see
the Shrek 4D experience.
What the fuck?
I didn't go into it even, but I just found that it exists. And
Is Shrek like a thing over there because of Mike Myers?
No, there's just a lot. There's a lot of overlap, I think, between American media and English media.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Shrek is fucking bomb. So of course they had some Shrek 4D experience, and we almost went. It was like a whole attraction where they set up like explore Shrek Swamp. Go at this time you can go and you can solve Rumpelstiltskin's riddle and explore his like shack, shit like that.
So like the Willy Wonka experience.
Yeah, it's a Willy Wonka experience, except it was real and not like what was it, like the grabber? What was it? Like
Yeah, the
guy?
grabbler or
What
something.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? It's not even
The
like
AI.
It was weird. It was weird. It's just like a dude in a black cloak and like a white mask. That was weird. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. No, I know
Okay.
that because he was all AI generated, right?
Was he? I thought he was like a dude in a costume.
Well, no, he was, but I think the people who put on the event like generated the ideas and script from AI, and they just came up with that.
That is crazy because all you have to do to get the ideas you need is like read the book or watch the movie,
Right?
Which is like, first of all, I'm pretty sure I think the original book. It's by Roald Dahl, right?
Yeah. What the fuck? Okay, Roald Dahl. What is that name? I've always been like, why did they name him that?
I don't know. He's must be English, right? I'm gonna look him up right now. Roald Dahl. Yeah, there. Oh yeah, he's British. Well, there you go. That explains it right now.
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
The thing about the British is another thing I've discovered is that the English right now are just a completely unserious people. They call
Yeah.
they have such silly names.
Okay, this is my last question for you. This leads
Yeah.
right into it. What is the silliest thing you heard someone say that you didn't already know they said?
It's not someone that I heard someone say, but it was a term for ice cream that I saw. Whippy.
Whippy, yeah.
Yeah, a whippy, and I don't know if that's what they call ice cream there sometimes, or if that was just like the name of an ice cream. But there was Mr. Whippy. There was a Mr. Whippy ice cream truck like every 2 blocks. I was like, what the fuck is a whippy? I was freaking out. It was going crazy.
In Erie, they have a place called the Whippy Dip that I always.
Whippy
It's like
Dip.
my mecca. I always go
Yeah.
there whenever I go to Erie.
I mean, I guess it's not that much different from the United States. I mean, we have like Mr. Softy, so it's like, But
Yeah.
I was thinking about like the English are the peepaw of the world.
Go
right
on.
now, it's like that meme where it's like old men like fought in wars and killed people just to be called pee-poo by their grandchildren and like give them candy and shit. Like that's what Britain is. Like,
Right.
Look at this like storied, extensive history of horrible shit they've done. I mean, every country has done completely horrible shit, but it's like here's their storied and violent history. Executions, wars, colonization, slavery, all this shit. Mr. Whippy. Now this is what we're up to.
And now they're like the racist peepaw that just sits at the end of the table, and you're like, okay, peepaw, and you just let him say
people,
whatever.
Relax. I mean, London was definitely way more progressive than most cities I've been in. But yeah, we also what do they call it? They call pickles gherkins. That pissed me off.
Well, gherkins is Like that, it is a different thing.
Is it?
Yeah. Like it
I don't know,
isn't.
some-
It's
it
a
was
type
just-
of pickle.
Yeah. It's just like I was having such a culture shock. Like, such a minor culture shock at weird things. And I was like,
Yeah.
every time something had a silly name, I'd be like, I can't fucking believe this. This is insane. I don't remember one of the stops, one of the tube. First of all, it's also called the Tube, which I do think is I like that name. It's a little silly, but I like it. What was it? It was like Piccadilly Circus. Like, oh, we have to go to Piccadilly Circus to catch our train. And there was another one that was really, really silly, but I think I blocked that out of my mind. And like, there's just such silly names. And maybe it's just because I'm American. So the silly American names that I'm used to, I just don't think they're silly because I'm used to them. But I was just like, oh, this is so ridiculous. This is insane.
We could use a little more whimsy in America. I
We
think.
could. We really could.
All right. So you had a good time though. It was like a good trip.
Yeah. I also, this is the last thing I'll say, because we had a lot of weird things. I had a lot of weird things happen. It's London is like bizarro Manhattan is what I would call it. But it's really, really nice there. I would recommend it to anyone to just check out London. So many really great things to see, and eat. Lots of great things to eat. But on the last day, me and my family and my girlfriend went on a pub crawl, and I split from the group between one of the pubs because I was really hungry, and I went to go get Slim Chickens, which is like a chicken joint there, like a fast food chicken joint. And I was like, ooh, that sounds really good. I can go for just some like Garbo chicken right now. And I walk in the place and there's a guy in a suit. And I walk in the place and he's looking at me. And I look at him, like expecting him to like talk to me because he's looking at me as I'm walking in. He doesn't say anything to me. And then like I felt awkward because we were just staring at each other. So I was like, hey. And he goes, and he like looks at me and he goes, are you good? And I went, yeah. And he goes, right this way. And he like puts his hand out and like guides me towards the cashier. And I was like, that's weird. Like this guy, okay, I'm like, okay, this guy thinks I'm fucking hammered now, when he definitely made that interaction weird because he was staring at me and was gonna say something to me and then didn't.
He probably watched you stumble out of the bar and make your way over to Slim Chicken.
Yeah, maybe I was really bombed, but I'm pretty sure I was like very well put together. I was not wide at all. I will say I was not wide a lick. I was like maybe 1.1 times my width in wideness.
Okay.
And then I ordered my food, I eat my food, and before I go back to the bar, I'm like, I'm gonna use the bathroom. I go to the guy again. I'm like, do you have a bathroom? And he leans over to me and he whispers in my ear a code. He goes like C6472. And I look at him and I go, okay. And I walk downstairs to where he said the bathroom was. I go to the bathroom. It's open. There's no code. There's not even an apparatus to put in a code.
No fucking way.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I use the bathroom and I go back upstairs and he's gone.
Whoa.
So what the hell was going on?
What? He probably didn't even work there.
I mentioned that to someone and that's what they told me. They were like, he probably didn't work there. I'm like, then what was he doing? Why was he just fucking with people? Why was he fucking with me?
I'm gonna do that in like a KFC.
Yeah, just whisper a code to someone. Like,
No, I get you put on a list.
Yeah, you would get put on a list over here for that. But I don't. I was like thinking about it for the rest of the day.
That would stick with me. That's crazy. That guy's probably out there somewhere doing that to someone else right now.
That was like a woodland like gnome who was just partaking in human society to cause mischief. I love I've seen this meme. It's so funny to me where it's like the woods in England and it's like Lord of the Rings, very pleasant, like the Shire, Hobbit style, like gnomes and like just forest gnomes sitting and petting animals and smoking pipes and laughing and being jolly and drinking next to each other, and then it's like woods in the United States, and it's like fucking CCTV footage of like Wendigos and like undescribed creatures, cryptids. Like that's what it was. They just have silly creatures in the city like gonna mess with people just for fun.
It's awesome. Well, I hope he's having a good day, wherever he is.
Yeah, whatever he is.
Yeah, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Like a Fresno Nightcrawler or something.
Mm-hmm. Let's
All
talk
right.
about video games now.
Let's talk about some gaming. I assume you did some gaming while you were away. Just playing a lot of Balatro, or did you try anything new on that colorful Switch of yours? Been playing any more PC? What you been up to?
I have not played a lot of Balatro. I'm taking a mind off. I got like almost 60 solid hours of fun out of Balatro.
We got that DLC.
Oh yeah, Friends of Jimbo, which I think is really funny. And you know what? I'm glad that they didn't add more cards.
They didn't?
Shit. No, they didn't.
Oh, just a skin or something?
It's just a cosmetic thing where they change the
Oh.
decks. So it's just different looking decks.
I
which
assumed
think
they were going to
is
be
really
like
nice.
new themed cards.
That's what I thought was going to happen too. And I'm kind of glad they didn't do that because they have such a delicate balance right now that I think it works really, really well. And whenever a new update comes out, I feel like there's always like a fucking fiasco on like the new things they put in the game because either something's like broken or it's terrible. Like everything's broken or everything's terrible or it's like, I don't know. So I'm kind of glad that they didn't do that. Because Balatro is so like in its infancy, it feels like the game basically just came out, so I'm glad they didn't like rock the boat too much already. And I just like I like free, small inconsequential updates like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the best indies of the last I don't want to say generation because indies don't really go by gens, but like of recent times, they put out those like small DLCs and small updates, and that's like the way to do it. Like Vampire Survivors, Among Us, Dave the Diver, like all those games have been doing this kind of thing, and it's really cool.
Which is funny that you say that because those are all
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that was why it was on my
collaborations with
mind.
Friends of Jimbo. And that's another thing. It's like that reminds me of I don't know if you've heard of this. I don't know if you've been keeping track of like Risk of Rain. But Risk of Rain 2, they found a publisher, I think. They found like a AAA publisher, Gearbox, and then they started releasing updates through Gearbox, and apparently Gearbox has fucked everything up, and the game is like a super buggy, borderline unplayable mess, is what I've heard. So it's like, okay, I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the horror story. It's like, oh, the game got a new update. And then everything breaks. And you're like, well, okay.
Yeah. But what have you been playing?
I've been playing not too much. I haven't played a lot of not a lot of variety. I've been playing like 3 games. One of them is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which I've been playing with you, which I think we'll probably talk about a little later, I think. But I've also been playing Lies of Penis.
Oh.
Yeah, I just started playing Lies of Penis like last week. And after we recorded our last episode, I started playing Dwarf Fortress. And
Yeah, tell me about that.
Dwarf Fortress.
That is what I'm the most intrigued by.
It's quite magical. Sometimes when I'm playing it, I'm like, I'm not really playing a game. I am using a world generating software. And
So
other
for those that
times,
don't
I'm
know.
like, yeah.
What is Dwarf Fortress?
Yeah. Well, let me like segue into that because I think it's very intriguing what Dwarf Fortress is. But when I play Dwarf Fortress, I'm like, I'm not playing a game. Like, it feels like you're not playing a game sometimes. It feels like you're just operating a software that generates a world, and then you're like, oh, okay, never mind. This is definitely a game. But it like kites a line between those two things. So Dwarf Fortress is like, it's this game that has been in development by 2 guys for almost 20 years now. I think development started in 2004 or 2006. I'm not really sure, but it's been worked on for about 2 decades now. And it is a game where you generate a world. The first thing the game does is generate a world.
Minecraft,
like kind of like Minecraft, except imagine if Minecraft was not infinite, but still. So Minecraft has procedural generation where chunks will be loaded as you explore them. So if you just stay within like a certain like couple mile radius, the rest of the world won't be generated. The world generates as you go through it, essentially, right? Like that's how Minecraft works.
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress does not do that, and it's also Minecraft does it to like an almost infinite degree. Eventually, it does end, but it's almost infinite in Minecraft. Dwarf Fortress does not do that. Dwarf Fortress has a size, like a limit, and it generates the entire world on the creation of the world. And then it will generate history for that world. And you can, mess with all these settings, but like the default setting is like 100 years. So the world will be created, and then it'll generate 100 years worth of history. And this includes weather. This includes formation of civilizations. This includes individual NPCs. And it will just populate a world to the brim with all these things. And they're all generated. They're all randomly generated using a system, but it will generate everything about a world. And then you can start playing the game. Like the world will be generated, then you can start playing a game. And the game is you take like 7 or 8 dwarves and you embark from your home civilization somewhere on the map, and you basically make a dwarven home. You start it's like a simulation, kind of similar like RimWorld, where you just start building, and your whole goal is to really you can kind of do whatever you want, but it's framed under the guise of like, okay, your dwarves have been sent out, and you are like this omnipotent like figure that basically sends out orders to your dwarves, make them successful, and their success is basically whatever you make of it. Like they have moods. All the dwarves have traits and like individual traits and thoughts and needs and desires and talents and stuff. And you just kind of do whatever you want past that. And as you get more successful, as you acquire more wealth, more things will happen. You'll be more noticed by things around you, so you'll get attacked by randomly generated goblins and giant beasts and other such things. But the thing that makes Dwarf Fortress so interesting is that they're randomly generated, but you may think, oh, these creatures are randomly generated, like, I don't know, as they show up. Like, the game has a internal thought where it's like, okay, it's been long enough, this outpost needs to be attacked, so send in this creature and we make it right now. That's not the case. These creatures have been in the world before you started playing it. That's part of the robust history that the game simulates, essentially, where every NPC that you get has had a history before you started playing. They have a family that's in the world somewhere in like your mountain home. They have like relations and like thoughts and connections to shit that you haven't seen. And you'll get dwarven migrants. As you get more successful, you get dwarven migrants to help fill out your fortress, and they also have histories that span out the world. They are generated during the world creation. Basically, Dwarf Fortress generates like, I don't know, maybe like 10,000 individual NPCs that just live a life that has nothing to do with you, that you will never see, and just use it to populate the world. And it does that for fucking pretty much literally everything.
It's insane.
It is the most in-depth, complicated, maybe not complicated, but no, it's definitely complicated, but it is the most robust and interesting simulation I have ever seen in my life. It's in the fucking Museum of Modern Art. Did you know that?
No, it makes
It's in
sense.
the MoMA. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous. So, not only that, so the simulation of like the people aspect is really bizarre, right? But then there's like gameplay simulations, which is equally as nuts. An example would be water pressure. So there's simulated weather, there's simulated physics, there's simulated combat, there's simulated this, that, and the other thing. There's so much simulated shit. And probably like the pinnacle of like how deep I'm telling you that the simulation goes is that they have simulated water pressure. If you go underground and you find water and it is like fucking pressurized or something, and you strike it in the wrong way, it like shoots out like oil and it'll flood a cavern. And it uses just a very advanced, very intelligent system to simulate how this water would act. And it's not even like something I need to reiterate is that like the simulation isn't realistic. It's not like this would happen in real life. This is Dwarf Fortress logic, but it follows this logic so strongly that it is fucking ridiculous.
It's like kid logic, right? It's like what a child would assume things work like.
Yeah, certain things, yes, and certain things also actually are like very, very realistic. The combat is really crazy, actually. When you like every dwarf has like a generated appearance, which is very in depth. Like it gives you like a whole paragraph, like block of text describing their appearance, and then it also generates like quirks and traits for the people, just like random shit that you have to question. When does this ever come up in gameplay? It'll be like this is in her personality, which also the personality is also completely in depth, with like likes and dislikes. It'll be like disdains conflict. So if she's in the tavern and a dwarf with a particularly bad mood starts getting mad or something, she'll get affected by that more than like another dwarf and stuff like that. So they'll do that, and it'll have these really, really descriptive paragraphs about these dwarves. But then it'll also be like, if it's raining out, it will describe that every piece of like individual body part is listed out on the dwarf, and it'll say there's a coating of rain on the dwarf. It simulates individual body parts of dwarves. During combat, if combat doesn't go your way and your dwarf gets like fucked up or something, they will have injuries that will can affect them for the rest of their lives. They'll be like, you can go into these combat logs, and these combat logs will describe what happens in the combat. And the combat's also very in-depth. You're going to hear that a lot. It's very, very in-depth. Like, it'll have lines and lines of simulated combat that you can go through, and you can understand what happened. Be like, the weaponsmith jams their iron spear into the Crundle's left arm, causing great damage. The force of the impact tears the fat on the right shoulder of the Crundle, bruising it. The dwarf spear is stuck in the Crundle arm, so now the dwarf has to wrestle the spear out of the arm, and that takes time. And then it'll be the dwarf once again strikes the Crundle and slices off the arm, and it sails off in an arc, right? And now it'll have a generated graphic of a little meat wad on the floor, and you'll hover over it, it'll be Crundle's left arm, and now that Crundle no longer has an arm, and it's like affected by that in combat. But your dwarves can have the same shit happen to them. So it'll be like I'll have dwarves. Here's the story of what happened. Also, Dwarf Fortress is a game about stories. So I'm describing to you it like a simulation, and maybe that is a bit too dense. So instead, I'm gonna just tell a couple of stories to kind of demonstrate my point.
Please do.
I had 2 dwarves that suffered injuries, and one of them was, so I had a dwarf who, one of the gameplay mechanics is strange moods. At any point, one of your dwarves can be taken by a strange mood in which they are obsessed with creating an artifact, some type of creation. And you need to make sure that they have the correct workshop to do their work in and the correct materials to do their work in, because they have a one-track mind. This is the only thing they can think about doing. And if you have those things that they need to make their artifact, they will go and make it, and you'll get a very valuable piece of anything. It could be literally anything. It could be like bone earrings made of a yak. Or it could be something actually useful, like a warhammer that does a lot of damage. But it could be fucking anything. It could be a dresser. But what matters is that they're called artifacts. They're very important, and they give you a lot of value. They're very expertly crafted, essentially. If you don't do that, your dwarf will break under its obsession, and it could have a couple of different things that happen. Sometimes your dwarf, if the personality of the dwarf, the generated personality of the dwarf is like prone to anger, they will go berserk and they'll start like beating the shit out of the next person they see, and you have to like put them down, essentially. If they're prone to like melancholy or depression, it's prone to depression. If they're prone to depression, they'll fall into melancholy, and they won't eat, they won't drink, they won't sleep, they'll just wander around.
Just like me for real.
Just like you for real when you're not employed. Same with me. When I'm not employed, I just kind of wander around. I'm like, and they'll just break, and they will not be functioning members of society. So what happened is that I had a strange mood on one of my dwarves, and I built, this is like one of my first fortresses. I'm still such a newbie in the game, but this is probably like my first save file I was trying out. And I built my fortress very close to the surface because I didn't want to dig too deep because I didn't really know what was going on yet. And my fortress had a problem with rhesus macaws, which are those monkeys that are general nuisances. They like steal people's backpacks and shit.
Yeah.
In other countries. And I had a problem with those monkeys where they would just come down into my fort and they would just like, I don't know, they would just like swipe at people, and it would cause like a panic. And like the fortresses, like cats and dogs would get pissed at them and start biting, and it would just cause like panic amongst people, mild panic. And during a strange mood, and one of my dwarves was attacked by a monkey, and the dwarf with the strange mood got scared, ran away, fell down some stairs, and then was stuck on the stairs. Because that's actually like a bug, essentially. Like this game is actually pretty airtight, I think. There's not that many bugs that I've seen, especially like game-breaking bugs. Well, really, half your fortress could probably explode, and it wouldn't really end the game. You could just continue. But yeah, this guy like fell down the stairs, and because I interrupted his strange mood, he was stuck on the stairs, and I couldn't do anything. I was like, fuck. And then eventually he cracked, and he went insane. And he fell to melancholy. So he didn't eat, he didn't drink, he didn't sleep. He just wandered around the fortress until eventually he died of starvation, and we found him dead in my farm. And I was like, well, that was the first person who died in my fort. And something about Dwarf Fortress is that you have to properly memorialize. You have to either bury your dead, or you have to memorialize them properly. I did not do that, So eventually that guy came back as a ghost and battered another dwarf. And this ghost punched one of my female metalsmiths, and he punched her in her arm so hard that she lost her hand. And now that dwarf permanently doesn't have a hand. So she had to go to the doctor. She had to get stitches from the doctor. And she had to get her wounds basically healed. But now she doesn't have a hand. So she has her ability to grasp somewhat impaired. So she cannot do certain tasks. She cannot haul things anymore. She takes a longer time when crafting things. And it just affects that dwarf for a while. So that's part of the in-depth combat and medical system, is that this dwarf is permanently disfigured, and it affects them for the rest of their lives, essentially. Another thing that happened is that I actually accidentally paralyzed a dwarf. It's not oh, you punch off an arm, you slice off an arm, that arm's gone. That's the only way that you're gonna lose the ability of a limb. No, you can get fucking nerve damage. There's a nervous system as well in living creatures. So you don't even necessarily have to get something cut off for it to not be functional anymore. I was digging out a moat, and then I dug it the wrong way, and I caused a cave-in, and my dwarf fell a couple of layers and landed incorrectly and had motor damage. They damaged their spine and their nervous system, and they could no longer walk.
So sad.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So, and I didn't have crutches for him for a while. So I just had this dwarf crawling around in my fort for a really long time. And he was sad, and he made everyone else sad. It was just a real downer. And eventually I had to make a crutch, and then he didn't use it for a while, but finally he decided he was gonna use it, and he could finally move around at a normal, almost normal rate. But still, he couldn't do a lot of jobs, and he couldn't be a part of the military. And the game is just full of shit like that, just ridiculous stuff. It is probably the pinnacle of what is it called when a game procedural storytelling. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I need a bit more deets.
It's like when a game generates stories for you.
I think
what it's called.
Procedural storytelling is probably.
Hold on.
Probably
Let
good
me
enough.
just
what
look up.
other games do you have in mind that do stuff like that? Because Dwarf Fortress is to me, I've always, not always, but as of recently,
Emergent gameplay. There we go.
Emergent gameplay.
Emergent gameplay. That's what it's called. Because I remember we were talking about when we talked about Breath of the Wild. We were
right.
Yeah,
that's
emergent
what
gameplay.
I was about to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's the most effective emergent gameplay I've ever seen in my entire life.
I think it's
is
just because
addicting.
everything has a million keywords attached to it. You know what I mean? Everything has a state. Everything has millions of attributes applied to it at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not millions, but thousands of attributes applied to it at a time, and everything else reacts to that in real time.
Yeah, it's extremely in-depth. It's extremely descriptive. It really sparks your imagination, I really think. Just playing the game sparks my imagination. Watching videos on it sparks my imagination. So, a genre of video for Dwarf Fortress is people making movie style, almost documentary style videos on they went to this biome, they went to the evil biome where a necromancer sends out waves of black dust, and if it infects you, because there's a lot of fantasy stuff too, it's not just a boring simulation where everything is to the T normal. There's so much weird fucking shit in the game, and it's I went to the evil biome, and there's a dark mist that comes over the land every month, and if anyone's caught outside when they touch the mist, they turn into indestructible zombies, and it's a big deal. And they make these 50-minute videos orating the history of these the struggle of these dwarves, and it's amazing. It's really amazing. But it also still feels like a game. There's goals to make, there's things to do, there's fun to have. It's just so interesting. It's so interesting. And I'm really like, I'm falling for it. It's such an admirable game, really.
Yeah, I've always had so much respect for Dwarf Fortress. I had a friend who was really into it in high school, so I went down a rabbit hole back then learning a lot about it, and I remember this article, so while you were talking, I looked it up and I found it, and I didn't remember this exact quote, but I remembered something like this is always what I've like respected about the game, is that these guys that make it, they make so many systems, and it's kind of like the Binding of Isaac thing, where they make so many systems that they kind of forget about them in a way that they'll be surprised by how the systems interact, which is like, that's the goal, to see how these things interact. And so here the quote is, this is them implementing sewers into the game in 2011. This is an interview with the New York Times. They said they implemented the sewers, and then, quote, at about 1:30 a.m., a family of hippos, represented by light gray H's, swam into the tunnels from a nearby river. Their arrival was unintended and not part of the development. It was born entirely of the game's internal logic. The creator was pleased and said, "The hippos like the sewers," and then took a celebratory swig of his Dr. Pepper.
Oh, dude, that's me. I'm in love with this guy. I also thought that these developers were like, I thought they were dwarves themselves. I thought this was gonna be like, this is a Swedish game, and I was gonna look up a picture of them, and they were gonna look exactly like dwarves. Now these are just two American dudes, although they do kind of look like dwarves. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
It's that idea of like, they account for all the systems, but they don't they don't have to hard code everything. And that's why it's taken so long to make the game, because it might be easier to hard code that, like, hippos will go into the sewers because there's water there. But no, they had to go in the past. Their hippo code says that they'll go to new places with water, and then in the present they code the sewers to have water in them, so it just works. They don't have to hard code it. That's insane. It's
beautiful. It's so, I don't know. It feels like it's the most living world. It's probably one of the most living worlds I've ever seen in a video game. And it's really funny because the original graphics were fucking ASCII, which is hilarious. And also, but they actually released it on Steam, and they had because you can download like tile sets for the free. By the way, this game was free, and it still is actually free. If you want the ASCII version, the game is fucking completely free. You can get it right now. Absolutely free. But if you want like the built-in graphics made by a really talented artist, you can do that as well. And you can contribute like $30 to them, and you can play the game with these graphics and on like an actual launcher, just for like $30. And that is such a good purchase, in my opinion.
Right?
I feel like I could just get it for free and just download a tile set and probably play the game as normal. But I really, really like the Steam version, and I would be remiss if I was not gonna give the opportunity to donate for this like magic, because this feels like magic, man.
It does feel admirable. Like, I'd love to see a documentary about it one day, of these guys. Like, I don't know what their life situations are. I don't know if they're making enough money on Dwarf Fortress or whatever, but this is like their lives' work. And it is, you can tell. It's like that idea of starting a game on paper. I don't know if you ever have seen any documentaries or anything like that, but I went to a game jam one time as a journalist, and I watched these people sketching out a game on paper. And it's also similar to how they made Breath of the Wild. There's like the famous little video of the Breath of the Wild 2D like flat demo that they created of all the systems. And the reason developers do this is because it lets them identify what systems should work with each other, so that they can then code that in whenever they're making it, and it helps them nix which ones might be too difficult or which ones might be too complicated. But with Dwarf Fortress, it's literally like, I doubt they have many things that are left on the cutting room floor. They just commit to adding everything.
Yes. It's just so wild. I sent you an article about the Mosquito Man. And I was like, I
Mosquito
can't
Man.
fucking believe this is in the game. And then I looked at the animal people that exist in the game. And there is so many goddamn animal people. Did you look at that image I sent you? Did you look closely at that image? I can't fucking believe it.
Right.
Sperm whale man? Are you for real? It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, and that's another thing. This feels like, because you were telling me that you don't think you could play Dwarf Fortress because it's very hard to like actually like play and be perfect because the game is about losing essentially. And that's what I was like thinking. Like, I think people really probably are put off by Dwarf Fortress. Like any non-believers, probably wouldn't play Dwarf Fortress because it's too intimidating. And honestly, that's what I thought too. I was really stressed out, like gonna jump into Dwarf Fortress because like I gotta learn all this stuff. It's gonna be really difficult. It's actually so streamlined. Getting into it, the worst part about Dwarf Fortress is working up the nerve to play it because I get nervous. When I would quit a world because I would be like, okay, I'm not really happy with how this world's going. I'm gonna take like a break or I'm gonna make a new world. I would get paralyzed and be like, ooh, I don't know if I like start from scratch. Like this might be really hard. It's really not. It's so streamlined how they've made the Steam version at least. And there's a tutorial that is actually very, very smart. You know, it's gonna be tough for the first like couple hours understanding the menus and the UI and all that jazz and all like the systems and some of the systems. But once you kind of get past like the initial hump, it feels like just like a speed bump. You can get over it very, very fast, with very little resistance, and you can have so much fun.
I believe it, and you are right. Like I'm just too intimidated by it, but it's not so much the idea of like I don't think I would enjoy it because I know I would enjoy it, but I respect it so much, but I don't think I could physically devote the time to it that it deserves. Like it is a problem with me. Not a problem with the game, and I feel like a lot of people might feel that way where it's like I would love to play a game like this, but for me to fully enjoy a game like Dwarf Fortress, that has to be the only game I own, and unfortunately I own a lot of games.
Yes you do, and I do too. And you know what, I don't blame you. I really don't blame you, but I also think that Dwarf Fortress could be like a jump in jump out game. You jump in,
fair,
you get addicted, and then you're like, okay, you know what, I'm happy with the story I've created. Or maybe your civilization has been destroyed by a giant beast made of blood. And you're like, okay, well, I will not play this for a while, and then I'll come back, and I'll be happy. But I understand. I understand why you wouldn't want to touch it. I will, however, tell you about something that may make you want to touch it.
Okay.
So the main game is called Fortress Mode. And that is where you do not have direct control over your people. You give them orders and suggestions, and you manage. You're like an omnipotent manager. And that's the main game. That's what the game is essentially built around. There's another mode that has been in the game for a while, in the ASCII version, but right now it's in the beta for the Steam version. It's called Adventure Mode. And in that game, you play as you can make a character, and you can make them dwarf, human, elf, goblin, kobold, any of the animal people, I think. I'm not really sure about that. But you make a character, and you play as an adventurer in the world you created. And you have all the systems, all the things that your dwarves can do, all the complicated systems that your dwarves can do are now available for you to play directly in. And you, instead of having these very wide sweeping stories about the dwarven civilization that you ran into the ground by accident because you kept not giving dwarves beer. You instead have these very smaller, intimate stories of you playing through like an RPG, like a personally crafted RPG for you in this world. And I've seen a lot of like gameplay footage of it, and I cannot wait for it to get fully like its official release out of its beta onto the Steam version, because I want to play it so bad. All I want to do is wrestle a goblin. I want to have that combat system in my own hands, because I get really interested in the combat. It can get really hard when it's like a clusterfuck of combat that'll be going on. But most of the time, if it's like a single enemy or two, like I will read the combat log and like skim through it and then read like the last couple of things to see how like the conflict ended. And you get some really detailed things, and you pick out like a story. You make a story in your brain. It's just, that's like my favorite thing about this game. It is imagination stoking game, inspiring game, completely ridiculous. And like one example was that I was doing something. I don't remember what I was doing, but my population was 70, and then suddenly my population was 69, and I was like, oh, that's not good. So I tried to figure out who died, because you actually won't get like a notification that someone died unless someone else finds the dead body. So eventually I like, oh fuck, what happened? And I went and found like the dead body of the person, and I found the combat log. I did get a notification of the combat log, and it was a weaver. It was a seamstress, essentially, and she was gathering webs in a underground cavern that I recently discovered, full of their own unique threats that may or may not show up at any given moment. She went down there on her own volition to gather spider webs to weave into silk thread. And while she was doing that, from above, a giant bat showed up, bit her neck, and tore off her head.
Incredible.
And that's what happened. And I read like an entire combat log that detailed exactly what happened, what was injured, all that crazy nonsense. Ridiculous. Another thing that happened, I had a hunting dog. I had a stray dog. I trained it into a hunting dog, and I put it under the care of a hunter. I had several crundles invade my fortress. Look up what a crundle is, first of all.
Can't keep saying crundle.
They're really funny. They're like these little like, I don't even know what they are. They're these little like funny people. You gotta look at the sprite. Put the sprite on screen.
Sprite on screen.
Just these little guys. And they kept on. They're not even dangerous. They just show up, and they make everyone panic because they're like kind of freaky. They're kind of like weird looking, so they make everyone panic. So my hunters were hunting them, and they got into a scuffle with one of them, and like I think like 6 of them at once, because they all showed up in a group, and my hunting dog was fighting them, and I don't know what happened to the hunting dog, but because I wasn't following the conflict directly, on the stairwell where some of the conflict was happening, there was teeth everywhere. There was like bones everywhere, and I hovered over them, and it said that it was teeth. It was the teeth from my dog. And I was like, what happened? And I examined the description from my dog, and it was missing all its teeth.
Oh.
It was really sad. And I was like, no. So that means it had teeth, and then it lost a couple of teeth. It simulated losing a couple of teeth, and now it has all of its teeth lost. So now its use as a hunting dog is so, like, kneecapped, essentially, because it has no teeth. And now I'm like, the dog is 9 years old at this point. I'm like, I think I'm just going to retire the dog and just let it, like, die in peace soon.
Man, that's sad.
Yeah, but, like, that's a story. That's a story I have now of something that happened.
Yeah, it's all like D&D stuff, where it's all organic and you kind of make it up. It makes it up as it goes along, and you just observe.
Yeah. And, that's, like, that must be some of my favorite gaming, honestly. Creating such personal, descriptive stories about things that happen to you. And they could happen to other people, but this happened to you. just like real life.
Water cooler chat.
Water cooler chat. This happened to you. I told my coworker about it because I was playing it on my break, and I was about to go to lunch with a coworker. So I went to lunch, and they saw me playing it. They're like, "What game is that?" And I was like, "Oh, blah blah blah, Dwarf Fortress." And they're like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Ooh, buckle up." And I told them a story about. I told you this story about how I was getting these fucking monkeys in my little hovel. Like the first month of me playing the game, these monkeys were getting into my hovel, and I only had like 7 dwarves, and they were all doing stuff except for my expedition leader. And I was like, you know what? You will be the one soldier I have, and you are gonna kill these monkeys. But I picked such a frail old man. I should have read the description. Because he did not kill the monkeys. Instead, he started to fight the monkeys. Upon first bloodshed, he got extremely dizzy and nauseous and started throwing up everywhere, and then slipped on his vomit and passed out on the floor. And I went, maybe I shouldn't have made him the one dude to fight the monkeys. And that's just what the game is.
I'm glad you found a new lifestyle. I'll talk to you again in like 3 months whenever you haven't left it.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see, man. I'm looking at fucking Grasshopper Man right now. You know what? I'll rest when I see Mosquito Man. In my game,
I don't think you want to see Mosquito Man.
I want to see Mosquito Man really bad. It's either Mosquito Man or Sponge Man.
Sponge Man.
Sponge Man. That's what the Bob.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. All right, but I talked so much about Dwarf Fortress.
Well, it's a huge game. I couldn't, in good conscience, just be like, give me a 5-minute review of Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. But it still plays like a game too. Like I still feel
that's
like
incredible.
I'm playing a game. I don't know. I think if you heard this and you're like, that sounds interesting, check it out. Just look it up. Check it out.
Check it out.
Because oh my god. It's awesome.
All right. Excellent review. There's no ending though, right?
Nope.
So you're never gonna beat the game. So this is effectively like your review, but it might change over time.
Yeah, I'll review it when I hit a certain amount of hours, when I feel satisfied, I think. But I don't know when enough hours will be.
Yeah, it might never come. It's like
it
Minecraft.
Might never come. So I don't know. I think, but I have 30 hours in the game right now. This is giving me so much joy. It honestly, I feel like I say this often, but I have no memory of ever saying it, but this is more than a game. I think I said that for Minecraft.
Yeah.
That this is more than a game. But Minecraft is more than a game because it is like culturally so significant. This is more than a game like legitimately. This is more than a game. This is ridiculous. This is a world generating software that you have an option to play in. Because another thing, just last thing I will say, because it's like, there's no win condition, really. The only thing that you can perceive as like, oh, maybe I won, is when you become so successful that your dwarven civilization that you stem from decides to make your site the capital of the people. And then your king and queen move in, and you give them like a holy throne and all these artifacts, and then you become like a mountain home. And I guess that could be seen as like, I won the game, but then the game still continues. And also the idea is that eventually more threats appear, the more wealth you have, and eventually the game will end because something will destroy you, or you'll run out of some material, you'll experience a drought, your citizens will get so pissed off and they just start killing each other, you have a civil war, and the idea is that eventually all civilizations will end, no matter how fruitful they are. In practice, I don't really think that's true. I really do think you could probably play it infinitely if you just play right. But when you are like, I'm done, I don't want to play in this site anymore, you can just start a new world. You can start a new site in the same world. And you can see recurring characters, recurring histories, events that will be relevant to you in this new site. So what some people do is that they make this world and then they just play in this world and create different factions and civilizations and stories in the same world instead of like deleting and starting all over from scratch. And you can do the same exact thing in adventure mode. You can have all these worlds in Fortress mode, and then you can play them in adventure mode and go to the fortress that you created in like this like meta way to play the game, you know?
Awesome.
Like, I'm gonna make a fortress with all this great loot, and then I'm gonna cheat in adventure mode by going to that fortress and then taking the loot, and now my character is unstoppable. You could do that if you wanted to. So that's what I mean. That's like, it feels like more than a game, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like one. Sounds like a tool.
What games did you play?
What the fuck was that?
That was me changing the topic.
Okay.
Because I can't keep talking about this.
So I do this to myself every year, where around the summertime, I jump into a ton of like insanely large games and then kind of get burnt out all at the same time, where I'm like, I haven't finished a game in 3 months. I need to just see credits for me to get my messed up brain back in gear, and then I can go back to playing like Final Fantasy or whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
So I woke up one morning and I was like, I have a job now, so I don't have to worry about applying. The whole day is my oyster. I want to play a game today and want to beat that game today. So I went to my shelf and I was like, you know what? It's time. And I pulled it out. I pulled out the Metal Gear Master Collection Volume 1.
Holy shit.
And I have started my journey through Metal Gear.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry. You will be gay by the time you're done.
Looking forward to it.
Metal Gear isn't about gay sex. Metal Gear doesn't have gay sex, but it is about gay sex. The same with Persona 4.
True. So right now, I've gotten through I was gonna start with Metal Gear Solid, but I don't know, just something, I was like, I'm in the mood for like an older game, so I actually played Metal Gear 1 and 2 first.
Oh, on the
MSX,
wow,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm not quite halfway through Metal Gear Solid, but I'm making my way through it. And I'll talk about that later, because I have some interesting revelations about MGS that I did not know. Let me talk about Metal Gear. So, have you ever played the originals?
No, but I did see the classic AVGN
Oh,
episode
yeah.
about it. And it seems frustrating and hard, but I imagine that they kind of made a lot of changes for the Master Collection.
As far as I can tell, they didn't.
Oh, awesome.
Because they actually have both versions of, I forget if it's the first or second one, but one of them's on Nintendo and MSX, and they have both versions for you to play.
I think it's the first one.
I think so too.
I don't know.
But I played the original, because it seemed like that was the consensus online, is like the Nintendo, I don't remember if it was NES or SNES, I assume NES. I think that version changed some things that made it like way too easy.
Right.
But also had some quality of life. But I played it on like the normal difficulty on the MSX version, and I think that Metal Gear 1. So this is effectively the first stealth game. Like it wasn't, but it was the first, tactic. It wasn't tactical espionage action. It was. They had a different tagline. It wasn't what I was like. It had said something else. It was like tactical espionage game or something, and I was like, that's weird.
Yeah,
they
man.
changed it. But it's effectively the first stealth game that popularized the genre, and it's just you're this little sprite running around, and these guards can look in the 4 cardinal directions, and you just try your best to stay out of those directions. And that's the whole game. It has a story, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It is.
Sure
I mean, it is the first, I assume, and probably only true interaction between Solid Snake and Big Boss. And it does not play out like how you'd imagine, knowing anything about Metal Gear Solid. And there's these weird side characters, and I guess I'll just summing everything up quickly is that Metal Gear 1 is like what the rest of the franchise has been built on, and I, for some reason, wasn't expecting that. There's so many trappings of things that everyone knows from Metal Gear that started at the very beginning. All the way down to the noise that plays when you get detected, there's like a little chiptune version of that with the little exclamation point.
Yeah.
Things like using your cigarettes are there for it extends the timer at the end. The way that you get upgrades to your guns and equipment throughout. You go in naked and you have to find everything on site. The codec calls, like everything is there in this first one, and it's a good game. It's really solid. It is Solid Snake. You're right. It has a lot of NES jank. Like I would not have been able to get through this game with a guide or without a guide. But honestly, name a game from this generation that you could play nowadays without just going insane if you didn't have a guide. There's not many of them. Like Mario, yeah, but like an exploration game of this nature where you have to, it's Metroidvania light, key cards and whatnot. There's parts of this game that I'm just like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that? Like there's a whole part where you cannot progress unless you punch a wall that looks exactly the same as all the other walls. No indication whatsoever. Like so yeah, with a guide, actually a really solid experience. It's super tight. The controls are surprisingly intuitive. Maybe that is something they changed with the Master Collection. I'm not too certain. But it gives you excellent progression. You keep getting better guns and equipment as you move on. You'll walk into an area and it just suddenly you get spotted and you're like, what the fuck? There's no cameras, there's no people. Then like an hour later you get infrared glasses and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
You go back to that location, put the glasses on, you see there's lasers everywhere. It's like, okay, that makes sense. It's not in any way similar to Dwarf Fortress, but it's that idea of like, there's all these systems in play, and you kind of just have to figure it out with what makes sense. Like, you go into an area and you start taking damage. Why am I taking damage in this area? I don't know. I can't go there right now. Well, later I get a gas mask. Okay, let me go back. Yes, the gas mask is protecting me. Okay, now let's move through. And I had a really good time with it. I think I give it like a 7 out of 10 because there is a lot of jank and there's a lot of bullshit, but within there is just a really excellent stealth game. And it's surprising for how old it is, but it holds up. It is really good.
I am very surprised because Angry Video Game Nerd said it was bad.
I mean, it definitely seems like one of those things where I'm not looking at it with rose tinted glasses because I've never played any game in this series, but I was so pleasantly surprised with how I think I was expecting it to be dog shit. So I might be giving it a little grading on a curve.
That's what you should do. You should expect more things to be bad.
I mean, I expect a lot of things to be bad, but whenever I go back to a game this old, I'm expecting it to be completely bullshit. And there was some, but for the most part, the game worked. That's enough for me, I guess.
Yeah. You know what? I don't blame you.
And the story, it's just a shitty action movie story that's very poorly translated from Japanese.
Hey, relax.
I mean,
Don't talk shit about every Metal Gear game ever.
But it got the job done. The codec calls were interesting. There was twists and turns. I saw them coming from a mile away, but they came and were exciting. And then the final boss is the final boss. Big spoilers for the game called Metal Gear. That the final boss is Metal Gear, and the way you kill it is like 3 hours earlier. The game's not even that long. Like 1 hour earlier, you get a codec call that you could have accidentally skipped through because there was some weird controls with the dialogue, where the guy says the code is right. It's like a 12-digit like right left right right left right left right right right, and then he's like, and the last two I forget.
Yeah, awesome.
That's it. That's all you get. And you're supposed to know that is you have to attack it on the right and then attack it on the left. And then you do it in that order. And for the last two, you just guess. But I looked it up because I wasn't doing that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the kind of like weird old game bullshit that we're dealing with. But it's kind of charming in its own way.
I mean, all the newer Metal Gear games also have that stuff, but it's a little less. insane.
Yeah, and I think you can get away with it a little more in Metal Gear Solid because you get so many codec calls.
Yeah.
There's probably like 20 in Metal Gear, like total. And then you can call in and get advice on things, but it's so like, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to be in, you have to know that this person will answer you in this room. And even then, they might not if you didn't do the condition that activates that call.
You can't just like call them on a whim and just be like, okay, that's what happens in Metal Gear Solid 3. You can just call any character on a whim and they'll just be like, Snake, did you see Godzilla versus King Kong? That's what there's a character who does that. Just talks about movies with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, this is very much like, there are probably answers. The thing where I had to punch a wall, there might be a codec call that explains that, but I would have no idea where to do it. Like, for the most part, you're in a room, you call anyone, they're not going to answer. But occasionally, you'll call someone and they'll be like, hey, do you see there's a crack in that wall? And you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah.
And for how old the graphics are, I actually think it looks really nice. Like the modeling and everything, it's not... Sometimes with these games this old, you can kind of get a little confused as to like what is what and who's who on the screen. But I think they did a good job of making it look really pretty.
I agree. I do like the way the original Metal Gear looks. So are you playing Metal Gear 2 now? Or?
So I also finished Metal Gear 2.
Oh, Solid Snake.
Yes, I finished Solid Snake, and now I did not enjoy Metal Gear 2 anywhere close to as much as I did the first one.
You didn't like blowing up Big Boss?
I did not enjoy most of this game, to be honest with you.
All I know about Metal Gear 2 is that Venom Snake is in it.
Is that
technically? Is
it like a character that becomes that and it is revealed in a later game? Because I did not
Metal Gear. Okay, so the thing is about Metal Gear is that first of all, the plot is ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But in Metal Gear Solid 5, do you know about Venom Snake?
Very no. I'm gonna say yes. I've heard the name. I get the idea of what MGS5 is about, but no, I really don't.
Okay, am I allowed to spoil MGS5 sort of right now?
Sure.
Because you don't Venom Snake. So there's 3 snakes. The Solid Snake. Okay, first there's Big Boss, right? With Naked Snake,
right,
who becomes Big Boss. That's the original Snake. Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss.
Right, okay, I know all this. Okay.
Yes. Then there's Venom Snake, who you play as in Metal Gear Solid 5. He is a body double for Big Boss.
I see.
He is someone who replaces... Yes, he voices by Kiefer Sutherland. Fuck! I'm not going to do this again. He's voiced by that guy, and you play as him in Metal Gear Solid 5, and you're his body double. He's actually... I don't know if this was like a 20 IQ brain play or something, but in Metal Gear 2, you like kill Big Boss, right?
Right.
Yeah. And like that never really made sense because Metal Gear is canon to Metal Gear Solid and Big Boss is still alive in like the continuity. Well, for most of the games.
Oh, okay. Like, you know what? I did forget about this.
What?
This might have been added later because of what you're talking about, but there is a after the credits, a dialogue box comes up that hints that Big Boss is alive.
Oh, yes.
Even though you nuked him with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, so that, I don't know where they connected the dots, but the dots are connected. The Big Boss you kill in Metal Gear 2 is canonically Venom Snake from 5. Isn't that fucking weird?
Yeah, well, when does 5 take place? Because I know 3 is the first one.
3 is the first one. 5 takes place after 3, after Peace Walker, after Ground Zeroes. Like literally right after Ground Zeroes. Phantom Pain starts at the very end of Ground Zeroes and before every other Metal Gear game. So, yeah, it's a prequel. It's like a prequel to 1 to 4. Because 1, 2, and 4 are like a trilogy. The story ends in 4, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's like action, which is actually I appreciate. At least before Kojima left, he was like, well, this is the end of the trilogy, so you have to make prequels from now on. Fuck you. So yeah, there is an end to the story. But yeah.
Okay, well, either way, the story notwithstanding, because the story in these ones really, like, it's so inconsequential. They tried in the second one, I will say. There are more codecs and there's more cutscenes in the second one, and you can actually follow it. In the first one, it was like, I'm not following what's going on here. 2, there's enough threads that connect everything that you're like, okay, I get what's going on here.
Yeah.
Okay, the graphics in this one, it's kind of hard on the eyes. Yeah, especially the character models, like not the faces, not the portraits, but like the actual character models. It's a little hard to tell where they're facing and who's who, which makes it difficult in a stealth game. Because if I think I'm going to be able to walk past this guy, but he's actually looking right at me, it's not easy.
Okay.
And the big change, for all intents and purposes, Metal Gear 2 is just Metal Gear 1 with a new map. There's almost all the same weapons, all the same items, a lot of the same enemies, and some of the bosses even are very similar. But the big thing they added is the crawl, the stealth crawl.
Okay.
And I think it ruins the game. I really do. It
really?
makes the controls in the first one are tight. It's literally just 4 axes, your gun shoots forward, and occasionally you get to use like a bomb or something. Now you can crawl, and it makes the controls so clunky because they account for like spacing and also some 3D stuff where like there's multiple layers to each, multiple planes to each screen. And if you're crouching behind something, you're hidden, but if you're standing, you might be seen, which makes sense for a game like this. But I think it was better when it was simpler, to be honest. I think because the solution to a lot of this is just run out of the screen so all the enemies despawn and then crawl under a truck and wait for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's how you...
the truck bed and it drives away.
Oh my god. Yeah. But yeah, and in the first one, it was a lot more intense and skill-based, I think, of like, okay, I gotta take out these guys and then get behind that box. In this one, it's like, I kind of accidentally moved my character model in the wrong way, and now I have to just run away for 3 minutes, and then I can get back to the puzzle. I didn't love it.
Yeah, that does sound really annoying.
Mm-hmm. There's also a lot more bullshit puzzles in the second one than the first one, which is surprising, but there's a whole area where it's just an invisible path, like Dark Souls style or Elden Ring style, where you just have to walk and hope that you're on the path, and then if you fall off the path, you get back on and trial and error it. I tried it for like 15 minutes, and I said, you know what, fuck this, I'm looking it up, because there's no indication whatsoever, and that kind of stuff is frequent in the second one, for some reason.
Really? It's not even like you missed something? It's just complete...
I guess there's a chance I missed something, but I don't know what would have happened. I don't think it would just outline the path for me or anything.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I did, and that's on me, but I shouldn't have to rely on making the right codec call at the right time to miss, like, 45 minutes of game time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a lot riding
really
on that.
Annoying.
But this one does have a lot of charm that kind of salvages it a little bit for me. Like, the character portraits are a lot better.
I'm looking at that right now, and I was gonna ask you what portraits you got, because I'm looking at probably what is supposed to be the real portraits, which is like a guy who actually looks like Snake, and then I can only imagine it's like the American version and the Japanese version. The American version, they were like, fucking put Mel Gibson in it.
No, okay, so I didn't get the Mel Gibson one, but a lot of the other ones are similar. Like, the doctor or whatever is just Albert Einstein.
Of course. Okay. Oh my god, I'm looking at it right now.
Right? And some of the other villains are just like actors or famous people, but all the main characters were who is the artist for Metal Gear? It's like the same guy throughout. I forget who it is, but that style. And it's much appreciated to see that style. But this game is where Snake being just like an absolute pervert started.
Awesome.
And it's horrible, but it's so funny to see. Like it's such a product of its time that when you start up the game, a big message pops up that's like, "Listen, we know, but we didn't change it because this is how it originally was. But we know it should not be like this."
Oh, I love that. I love it. It's like the Kazuma Kiryu thing. It's like, yeah, Kiryu is like such a force of nature, so determined, so this, that. Moron. Does like complete social moron. Love that.
But yeah, this one, there's a lot to enjoy, mainly through the story, and a lot of the boss fights and just general combat is still very good. But a lot of the other minutia around that, I think, it's needlessly there. Like in Metal Gear 1, they were working with what they had, so that stuff just wasn't a possibility. But then Kojima, this might be the first instance of him Kojima-ing the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it shows. But, you know, it's short enough that if you enjoyed the first one and you're a fan of the franchise, I would recommend playing the second one just to say you did it. You have a guide up. It's doable.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, do you recommend me play it?
I would recommend you play Metal Gear.
Okay.
I liked Metal Gear a lot for what it was, and it's only 4 hours long. And if you get stuck, just pull up a guide. It's no big deal. But it really set the tone for the franchise because I'm planning on playing through the whole franchise. I have all of them except for 4, which I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna play 4. But you know,
you might as well just wait until the next Master Collection comes out because they're probably gonna, because it's Volume 1. I can't imagine they're gonna stop.
Well, I saw an interview like just this week that was like, "Hey, listen, we did Volume 1 for a reason because we can't figure out 4."
Yeah, well, man, games have to be. We should be able to get discs and downloads big enough to have 4, right? Come on, right?
Well, I think it's a PS3 thing. Like, I think it's just so hard to emulate PS3. That's the issue.
Oh, really? That sucks. Yeah, because that's like the one that people need to play.
Right?
You know?
And I think it is on PS4, PS Now, which I guess I could set up if I really wanted to play it, but I'll probably just wait. I'll wait for 4 for the Master Collection, but I do own all the other ones.
Yeah.
So I
bet they're gonna. Do you have Peace Walker?
No, but they have a recap of Peace Walker with some like interactive stuff on the Master Collection.
Yeah. Okay.
I do want to play Peace Walker because I actually dig the like community thing. You know, like all the like city building, but you know what I mean, like community building stuff in that one.
Yeah. The like the base building.
Yeah, I dig that, and I would like to play it, but I don't know if I'm committed enough to set up an emulator for it. So I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
That's in 5 too, so you could just play 5,
Okay,
or you can get the HD collection on Xbox and PlayStation.
So that's another funny thing is all of these in the Master Collection. When you boot them up, it says Metal Gear Solid HD Collection in the loading screen. Like it's just a straight rip from that. It's not, but that's just a fun fact. I've actually been thinking about buying a PS2 to play some PS1 games, so maybe I could get the authentic experience. But I'm already halfway through. I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 1. That's the one I'm in the middle of right now. And I gotta say, it is not at all what I expected the game to be.
What did you expect?
I expected it to be a third-person stealth action game. It is just a 3D version of Metal Gear 1 and 2.
Yeah, baby.
I didn't know that. I didn't expect that at all. So when you get dropped in there, and it's right trigger for the guns, left trigger for the items, we're at like this top-down isometric perspective, I instantly knew what the game was and how it was about to play out. And it kind of scared me.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I really thought it was going to be like just a original Resident Evil style, like either third person or fixed camera stealth game. But no, it's just a 3D version of the 2D games. And they, so far, you've played the first Metal Gear Solid, right?
I have not.
Oh, okay. I know you said it wasn't in your collection, but I thought maybe you played it.
I have all of them. It's been like, okay, I'm gonna play the Metal Gear games. I'm gonna start playing the Metal Gear games. Have not started them yet. This, however, will probably make me.
Okay. That's exciting because I would love to talk about this with someone because, you know, it's that friend at the party talking at you about Metal Gear. I'm finally at the point where I can accept the Metal Gear into my life.
Yes.
the first, because it plays like the originals, I kind of have a leg up of unknowing, like, you know, where I should be positioning and what guns to use in what moments. But because it's in 3D and it is not fixed to a grid, it's a lot harder for me to position myself and like figure out what's going on. They also have a weird mechanic where it's not top down and zoomed out like the original, but it kind of is in the same perspective. It's just much more zoomed in, so you can like back up against a wall and then you can turn the camera around to look at what's behind you.
Right.
Whereas in the originals, it's screen based, so you see everything.
Yeah.
And that's taking a lot of getting used to, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad. It's just kind of how the game is, and I have to learn to speak its language, which is tough so far. But everything else is controlling and playing exactly like the first one, with, you know, some of the stealth mechanics of the second one. But it's just the presentation is ratcheted up to like 12. You know, it's got dozens of codec calls per chapter, tons of weapons and items. 3D models are so like janky in the best way possible. The voice acting,
I love the aesthetic of it.
The voice acting is surprisingly good. I thought it was gonna be shitty, but I mean, there is some in there that's not great, but a lot of it I am like, wow, like where was this for all the other PS1 games?
Yeah, because Kojima wants to be a movie man.
Yeah.
So you know he was gonna drop the bills on that, and also David Hayter, worshiper of David Hayter over here.
Yeah,
he's funny.
I mean, and he actually Hayter does a little bit of a different take on Snake for this one than the ones I've heard. It's a little more subdued. Yeah. It's not quite as aggressive, I would say.
Yeah. It was the first time he was doing the character, and probably less, definitely less to go off of. But in Metal Gear Solid 3, full speed ahead.
Yeah, I didn't think that was the end of it.
That's all, no, he's just so good in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm definitely going to see it through. A lot less jank. There is some puzzles that are a little bit hard to solve, but then you have the codex available to you that can give you hints and stuff. So I haven't even had to look up a guide yet. I am stuck on a boss that I might have to look up because I can't quite figure out what the gimmick is. But that's fine.
Who is it?
I don't know his name, but the ninja guy that can go invisible.
Never mind. That's Gray Fox, I think.
Gray Fox? Okay. Well, he's in Metal Gear 2.
He is.
Huh. Interesting.
Don't know. Yeah, these are the overlaps that confuse me.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll keep you updated on my Metal Gear journey because I'm definitely going to play 2. Because 2 is like... 2 and 3 really are like the ones, right?
Yeah, I want to play 2 so bad. You have no idea. And 3 is pretty phenomenal.
And now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to play 1 and 2. Do I wait to play 3? And for Delta, because I wasn't going to. I like to play the original game and then the remake if possible. But the fact that they have the option in the remake to play with the original controls, I'm kind of like, why wouldn't I wait and just play that version?
I don't know. It has some charm, and you know what? I guarantee you they're gonna remove the look at boobs button.
Yeah,
they're gonna do it. Metal Gear Solid, do you know about that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they're gonna remove the look at boobs button, and some people are gonna be upset.
Yeah.
Not
some
me.
people. Who's some people?
Not me. No, not me. I'm just saying.
Does 2 play like 1?
Does 2 play like 1? I don't believe so. I think 2 is closer to the 3D stealth game that you're thinking of.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. So I think 2 might be more traditionally recognizable.
Yeah, because I'm not against the way 1 is playing, because it plays just like the ones I played before it. I just kind of like, I know 5. Like I know how 5 controls, and I want to see how we get there.
Oh, it's still, the 5 is the first of its class. It's also, 2 and 3 still have that alien way of aiming and shooting your gun, where you have to ready your gun and then it switches to first person and then you can fire the gun and you're stuck in place the whole time.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of like the point, I think. because in Metal Gear Solid 5 it doesn't have that, and you definitely can just body everyone with an assault rifle. So
yeah, it's exciting. I'm finally getting to see the storied story that everyone always talks about, and also, these games have 90s out of 100 on most like Metacritics and stuff, and I it's not that I didn't believe them, but I was like, I'm not a big stealth person. I kind of just want to see what the hype is about, and I kind of get it now. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to play 3. I know a lot about 3.
Yeah. Oh, also last shout out for this the Master Collection. It has these like, effectively what would be like a bonus features disc on a DVD, where it's like multiple versions of each game, the game's soundtrack, which is cool, and then like recaps and interactive storytelling things for like the games that aren't included in the collection. But the shining star of it is they have these books. They call them the Master Book, and really they're for people who have played the entire franchise. So I haven't dug too deep into it yet because it is like full spoilers all the way up through 5.
Right.
But it kind of will. It's like a timeline almost of like, it connects those dots. It explains how the story makes sense, but it also has like insights into how the game was made, which is really cool. And I appreciate that they went to that effort, because I know they didn't do too much work to these games, and they were really buggy when they came out on PC and stuff. The Master Collection got a lot of shit for being kind of bare bones, but these Master Books are a really cool touch that I'd like to see more collections like this do.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm sure do they have manuals for each game?
They do. Well, at least the Metal Gear 1 and 2, because like you kind of have to. I imagine they have them for all of them, though.
Yeah, because did you fight Psycho Mantis yet?
No, but okay. This is another really cool touch. So I have the Switch version, and it's a cartridge, but each game is actually listed separately on your Switch, which I didn't know was possible with a cartridge.
Right.
So like Metal Gear 1 and 2 are in one game, and I opened that game, and it only has the bonus features and all that related to Metal Gear 1 and 2. So I didn't know this was coming, so I opened up Metal Gear Solid, and I went to the bonus features, and one of them, it gives you a virtual PS1 memory card, and you get to select what games you would like to put on it for the Psycho Mantis moment, and that was awesome.
That's really funny.
It's only Konami games, I guess,
course.
for obvious reasons, but it is still really cool that that's an option. And there's 2 memory cards, so you can like, I don't really know how the fight plays out, like I get it, I don't really want to spoil on it because I know what happens, but not how it happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so you can like fill out, I picked Silent Hill 1 and Castlevania whatever for my memory card, and I want to see how that, because I put one on one memory card and one on the other, and I want to see how that happens and how it plays out.
They actually, I think they gave him new lines in the Twin Snakes for the GameCube. He's like, you play lots of Zelda, don't you? I'm like, yep.
I don't think Twin Snakes is on the Master Collection. It might be.
No, and I don't think it ever will be.
I don't really want to play it. I just kind of wanted to see it,
I
throwing rockets and stuff.
I unfortunately and fortunately own Twin Snakes, and
Awesome.
very excited to play that. I've seen some of the cutscenes for it. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's my journey so far. I guess by the next episode, I'll probably be done with Metal Gear 1 and 2, Solid 1 and 2, so I'll update you then.
Yeah, you're getting through it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not too long, right? Like, 1, I think, is only like 11 to 12 hours long, if that.
They're short.
Yeah. So
Just
that's what I need in my
silly
life.
games.
Because I'm still working my way through the big games I'm playing. I'm still playing Final Fantasy XIV, still playing Zenless Zone Zero, still playing Monster Hunter, so...
Is there an ending to Zenless Zone Zero?
I'm trying to get to the end of the base game content. I don't know if that's a true ending or not, but well, that's my goal. Once I get there, I'll be like, I'm done with this game. Thank you for the enjoyment I got out of it.
Well, that's good.
Yep. All right. I think that wraps up our reviews.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you, Jonathan, before we leave.
What's the question?
Clear the mechanism. Get your brain tubes out. I don't want you to think. I want you to respond immediately with your first thought to this question.
Okay.
If I put you into Minecraft, This isn't like a realistic version of Minecraft where things make sense. It's just you are Steve, but it's you. Do you think you could survive and die of old age? Or would you immediately perish?
Yeah, I could do it.
Because based on what we know about Minecraft, we know how to survive. But do you think you could actually do it if your life was on the line?
Yeah. I would just live a really boring life. I just I don't need diamonds.
But like
I don't even need iron. I could probably get by on stone. And,
yeah, but you're gonna live in like a stone hut for your whole life and not do anything for like 80 years?
Well, the alternative is blow up.
It's true.
Or an Enderman like ripping out my spinal cord. So, is this a tie-in to Jack Black?
No, but it should
Minecraft
be.
movie. Minecraft movie, baby.
I can't believe that's happening.
I can.
Yeah.
And I can already tell it will have the same aesthetics as the Telltale Minecraft games.
Telltale.
I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
Minecraft Story Mode, Netflix.
Minecraft Story Mode, baby. Oh yeah, it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about this because the other night I was playing Minecraft and I was like, you know what? I know so much about Minecraft that the fact that I still die doesn't make sense to me. Like, why am I putting myself in a position where I'm gonna die in this game when I should just be like a steamroller? And then I thought, you know, if I was actually in that situation, I bet because I'd be so careful. I think I'm just, you know, I'm careless when I play the game because I'm like, whatever, I don't really care. If my life was on the line, I bet that I would be able to survive in Minecraft.
I'm very confident that we could both survive. However, it's a matter of goals.
True.
It's a matter of what's the word? Like goals.
That is a word, yeah.
But it's what you want. You want to complete a goal.
Man, why are we even here? That's the goal I want to know.
All right, downer.
And that's where we'll end the show.
Moment. All right.
So thank you everyone for watching Softlock Podcast. Let us know in the comments. Ambitions. That's the word.
There we go. Then you can get ambitions. It's
Let
a
us
matter
know
of ambitions.
in the comments on Spotify and YouTube. Do you think you could survive in Minecraft? And what would be your ambitions? So we'll catch you again in a couple weeks. Thank you for humoring our summer break. We need a little bit of a time off, and I'm excited to be back. This was a good episode, so expect some more hot episodes coming on your feeds in the next few weeks.
All right. Enough of that.
All right, so until next time, see ya.
Bye-bye.